Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Megaport Live Tech Drop-In. Hi, my name's Dave Sloan. I'm a solutions architect, and I've been at Megaport for some 3.5 years now. So I today would like to talk to you about our Megaport Cloud to Cloud solution and how this gives our customers lots of scope and advantages in operating natively in multi-cloud environments and within our network ecosystem. So just a level set really, and for those of you that don't know about Megaport's network proposition, Megaport's proposition is based on the concept of network as a service, or NAS as it's often known. NAS provides the network in a way that's much more aligned with cloud subscription models, with services being available on demand and in near real time. NAS provides the underlay building blocks for organizations like yourselves to deploy a whole host of technical solutions to match your operational business requirements. So what makes a NAS platform different? Well, first of all, it's the reach. Megaport NAS is part of a virtualized global ecosystem built on pre-existing hardware. And this then gives you the ability to deploy capacity to all the well-known cloud service providers, giving access to thousands of IT-based services, as well as having connectivity to 850 plus data centers across the globe. And all this can be done in near real time in a software-defined manner. As you'd expect with NAS, it has very predictable performance, and it's like having your own private fiber lines. Your data travels on our private global network, and there's no internet within the core. And all these components can be linked together with virtualized network cross connects, and we call them VXCs, and they are layer 2 MPLS pseudo wires. And all this has the benefit of making it highly secure. And then you only pay for the capacity you wish to deploy, as it's virtualized and it's pre-built. So you can scale that capacity up and down on demand. You no longer have to worry about traffic spikes or wasted capacity. And this then ensures that you have good end user application performance. And the Megaport on-demand components are very versatile, allowing you the ability to launch virtual routers, which is what I'm going to demonstrate a bit later, and then use things like virtual cross connects across our network to connect to, if you wanted to, a physical port in a data center, or to another virtual router, or to things like virtual firewalls and virtualized SD-WAN elements, all within our network. And then you can also add to that further connections to Megaport Internet to allow all the way to full remote branch into networking. And this makes NAS services very cost effective. This can be designed, deployed, and fully operational within minutes and available for only the term you need. This reduces your upfront costs to zero, as your Megaport assets are virtual and require no capital investment or lengthy hardware provision. It's also worth mentioning egress fees. Typically, for all cloud providers via Megaport partner on-ramps are significantly lower, some as much as 75% compared to internet egress fees. So they're another massive financial benefit if you're a large-scale user. And you can design, deploy, manage and monitor it all on a single secure portal. It's point and click. You bring your own cloud service keys, and this makes establishing private connectivity simple. But for those with more sophisticated needs, both Terraform and API build calls are available for a whole host of deployment and management scenarios. So a quick look at our global snapshot. So this shows our global reach, and you can access Megaport in over 850 locations across the globe. And please note that we have two types of locations where you can connect to Megaport's network. There's an installed location, and these locations contain Megaport hardware. And then there's an enabled location, and these locations share the same campus or metro area as a Megaport installed location. Megaport's hardware is not located within the enabled location facility, but you can access it through private intra-campus or intra-metro cross connects. And as you can see, we've got real strength, strong presence in North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. So so a bit about Megaport there. And so what we'll do now is move on to cloud to cloud. So cloud to cloud combines two cloud components, allowing data and applications to be shared between them and reap the benefits of this. And the key considerations really when you're working in a cloud to cloud environment are initially your service providers. And this could be Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, IBM, Oracle, and Wasabi, to name but a few. In fact, Megaport has an ecosystem of over 100 service provider organizations. But in this case today, we're going to focus on AWS and Azure. But we are seeing surging requirements for the likes of Wasabi and OVH. So we do have a big ecosystem, which I'll show you very shortly in the portal. Another key component of your current cloud service regions, where your applications and services are hosted. So it might be EU West 1 in AWS or UK South as regional examples. And so we at Megaport, we're able to facilitate this. And finally, then it's the interconnection type between your cloud providers, the considerations that you might have. Is it going to be the internet with potentially high egress charges, unpredictable performance, potential security concerns, compliance issue, and VPN bandwidth limitations? Or could it be through a cloud partner like Megaport, which can enable configuration to cloud services within minutes, which combine direct, dedicated network connections such as AWS Direct Connect, Azure Express Route, and Google attachments, all into one single service platform? And why would you use multi-cloud connectivity? Well, it could be for the requirement of flexibility. It allows you to choose the best cloud environment for your different tasks. Or the requirement for scalability. Easily scale resources up and down, meaning that if you had large-scale migrations or interworking are much faster. Or cost efficiency. So using private multi-cloud, as migrations are considerably cheaper than the use of internet VPNs. And they could be security and compliance requirements. So you want to keep sensitive data within specific regions and not use the internet, and maintain national integrity as an example. And there are other permutations why you may use cloud to cloud. That might be for disaster recovery and business continuity. Using multiple cloud resources allows you to recover from disasters much more quickly and resume normal operations much more rapidly. So as I said, we're going to focus on AWS and Azure. So really, we want to show you what our pedigree is with those organizations. So how would you get to those products and services within Azure? So this is where Megaport currently have express route on-ramp locations. And this map depicts the 60 locations and regions where Megaport and Azure interconnect. And as you can see, yet again, there's real strength in the US, Europe, and Asia Pacific interconnections. And VXCs could be connected to either the 850 50 locations where Megaport has DC presence, or it can be access a whole raft of different services to connect to other cloud providers. So this gives a massive global footprint to Azure user applications and its customers. This means that end user applications in most locations can be relatively near geographically located Azure hosted services. And to add to this, we're always looking for new Azure on-ramp locations. So as business requirement demands, we're interested in collaborating with yourselves and Azure to provide solutions. So similarly, this is where we have direct connect on-ramp locations for AWS. And this represents the 56 on-ramp locations and regions where Megaport and AWS interconnect. As you can see again, there's real strength in the US, Europe, and Asia Pacific interconnections. And as again, VXCs can be connected as and where you require them to be connected to. We again are always looking for new AWS on-ramp locations, So as the business requirement demands, we can work with yourselves. So why are we talking here about cloud to cloud, and where does Megaport sit within that cloud to cloud story? Well, as I said, companies are increasingly looking for native cloud to cloud interworking and avoiding data centers entirely, or alternatively, they're looking to integrate with a data center solution while avoiding unnecessary traffic tromboning back to that data center. Megaport has a service that facilitates this, and this is the Megaport Cloud Router. And this allows for multiple cloud services to access any other cloud service on the Megaport ecosystem by creating a virtual cross-cloud point of presence. So this is the Megaport Cloud Router, and we often refer to it as the MCR. So the MCR is a virtual machine hosted securely within the Megaport Network as a Service proposition, with a stripped down layer 3 routing image installed on it. All MCRs are located in metro areas near cloud partner on-ramps. And this is in about 90 locations globally and in 16 countries. And this gives massive scope for low latency interworking and improved performance between cloud providers. It is very simple to use, and I will demonstrate this shortly, not really requiring much more than rudimentary knowledge of routing. The MCR is available from 1 gig to 10 gig throughput in the backplane, with 40 gig backplane models currently in development and near deployment. The MCR allows VXCs to be configured from any host cloud service into any other host cloud service on the Megaport network. And for traffic manipulation, static and BGP routing is available. BFD, MED, AS prepend, and route filtering are all characteristics that are available within the MCR. And as I said, we've upgraded our underlying vendor. So please look forward to further enhancements like those higher throughputs I mentioned and additional routing attributes and functionality. For resilience, all MCRs have diverse red and blue zones within their data center where they're deployed, as well as within a metro area, having multiple locations to improve availability, thus improving overall uptime and the ability to harden your network. Each MCR supports up to 25 VXCs connections into it, allowing oversubscription. So no wasted infrastructure. So a 10 gig MCR could have 25 10 gig VXCs built into it, potentially. You would obviously have to think about how you would deploy that and whether that would really be suitable. And the MCRs are deployable in about 5 to 6 minutes on a bad day. So if you have a requirement for intercloud working, you can create a virtual presence using the Megaport Cloud Router. It's a great tool for initiating this for any term of customer project, including mergers. So if you find you've got 2 cloud environments that need to be merged together as part of a business acquisition, migrations, if you've decided that you want to move from one cloud to the other, it's great for high-speed migrations, disaster recovery, and business continuity. So, as I said, there's no investment required. It's a rented device. It's easy to use. As I said, only a basic networking knowledge needed, and all builds are clearly documented on our website. And let's not forget those lower egress charges for interworking between CSPs compared to internet VPNs as well. It's fully private and secure, and it offers low latencies for better application performance. So now on to a demo. I'm going to demonstrate generating an MCR into a single blue zone within an MCR location in Frankfurt. And then I'm going to connect one VXC into an AWS Direct Connect and another VXC into an Azure Express route within Frankfurt. And this demonstrates how quickly you can build low latency into cloud working solutions between regions. Right, if you just bear with me, I'm just going to move my dashboard into the main screen so we can see it. So this is how your dashboard will be presented. This is a partner demo dashboard. It is a demo dashboard, but it is building live services within our network. So these services are real and actually being deployed. So, okay, I'm going to start to build some services, and you can create ports, create MCEs, or create MVEs. In this instance, we're going to create an MCR. Let me just make that a little bit bigger so that we can see that a little bit easier. Okay, so on the left here, we have a country filter. So we haven't selected a country yet, but I'm going to select Germany, as I said. And I'm going to select interaction FRA6 as the location that I want to connect to. I can nominate red or blue zones. I'm going to nominate let's go a blue zone, I think. Right, so we'll click on FRA6 and we'll click next. I'm going to set the rate limit. You've got 1, 2.5 gig, 5 gig, and 10 gig. But as I said, larger rate limits will be available soon. And I'm going to select a 1 gig device. And I'm going to call that MCR Live. Okay, if I scroll down here, there are some references and things like that if you choose to select those for your own internal use. But you've also got the ability to select a no subscription. So this is basically it says a monthly rate, but it will be billed by the hour. So it can be very effective for short-term projects. If you want the MCR for longer than that, there's 12, 24, and 36-month options. So as we move down, I can also select, when I build my MCR, as you're well aware that most of the cloud providers all talk using BGP. So I would need to do the same. So I can select an ASN of whatever I want. The default is 1365, but I'm going to select 6500. So, and now I can set my BGP default state. So I can have it enabled. So it's available from the moment I build the MCR, or I can shut it down and then bring it up when I've finished the configuration and I feel the time is ready. So you can set your maintenance outage windows and build services when you're actually ready to deploy them, and you can schedule those. And then we've got the ability to add API tags. So if you wanted later on, when you get more developed with the product, run API or Terraform, you can use these tags for sorting and all the advantages of using API tags. I won't do that at this time. I'll select next, and this will give me a brief summary of the location of where I'm building it, which diversity zone I've selected, and the ASN and the term and the actual finances involved with procuring the service. So it moves over onto the shopping list over on the left-hand side. I'll order that service, and I'll order that service now. And that'll it did initial validation to make sure it was a suitable configuration, and then it's basically begun ordering the service within the network. Now, whilst that's doing that, we can get on and build our other connections. So the first connection we're going to look at is into AWS. So as you can see, if I bring up these list of service providers, we've got an awful lot of service providers: Outscale, Amzix, Alibaba, AWS, Google, as I say, a whole list which are available on our website, but we're going to select AWS. Now with AWS, we've got two options. And if you are moving, if you're an organization that uses transit gateways, then you will absolutely need to select the hosted connection. If you're just using virtual gateways or DGWs, then you can use up to a hosted VIF up to 5 gigs. So there are permutations and different nuances, which I would recommend that you check before you deploy this service. So I'm going to, in this instance, build a hosted VIF, and I'm going to select the country. So we built the MCR in FRA6, and I'm going to select an on-ramp in FRA6 to have really low latency into working. So I'm going to select that location. I'm going to give that a name. So this is AWS Live. I'm going to give it a rate limit of 50 meg. And then the prices have come up. And so you've got no subscription, which is another hourly, you bill by the hour also, all the way through to committed rate up to 36 months. And you are able to enable the VXC when you're good and ready for that migration if you decide to do it in a migrated way. You then can also add your VPN tags. You click next. We can click next again. And all we need to do now is add some relevant technical information. So I need to put my account ID in there, which will then make an API call as it builds the service into AWS. And I'm just going to leave these fields blank. But if you've decided an ASN within AWS for instance, your DGW, then you can corroborate that, or you can select your auth keys, or you can select IP addressing. I'm not going to do any. I'm going to let it auto-populate at this instance. I'll add the VXC, and that'll come up with the price, order the service. That puts an API call into AWS to ensure that it's valid to do that order, and it'll begin ordering the service. So that will take a few seconds to deploy into AWS. We won't get BGP up and running on this because we haven't configured a direct connect gateway, a DGW in AWS to connect into, or a VGW. So this service won't actually come up fully end-to-end BGP enabled, but it will be deployed and it will be visible within your hosted connections within your AWS portal for you to start to configure. The next step is we're going to create that service into Azure. So we yet again go into cloud, we select Azure, and as you can see, I'm just going to show you very briefly, we've got lots and lots of on-ramps globally throughout the world, those 60 on-ramps. When it's 60 on-ramp locations, that means that often some of those locations have 2 diverse on-ramps within that location, so they stack up to nearly 120 actual physical on-ramps. But for this instance, we're interested in Germany. So there's a lot of on-ramps in there, but I will use a service key that I've generated for the express route in the Azure portal. Let me just collect that. So I've generated this. This is an express route key. So that key will then be verified and a call will be made into Azure to ensure that key is valid. I've been offered these 2 on-ramps within Frankfurt. I'm going to select the blue on-ramp as a primary route. You can select private or Microsoft peering. But in this instance, obviously, we're deploying Microsoft private peering. Click Next. And then you've got the configuration. So I'm going to give the service a name. I'm going to select the rate limit or leave it at 50 meg. Yet again, I've got the ability to enable or shut down the VXC. I'm going to leave it enabled, and different subscription models based on term and API tags. But I'm just going to select the standard for the sake of the deployment. Another summary of the services. I'm able to order it over on the left-hand side. When it hits the checkout, I'll order that service. That'll put the API call into Azure to build the service, and then begin deploying. Okay, so that'll take a few seconds to deploy. It's worth mentioning that when we use the MCR, all of the IP addresses will be allocated and built. So as soon as the services are configured at the far end within Azure and AWS, then all of the services will come up and BGP will enable. In fact, for Azure, BGP will already get enabled because it will also already build a relationship with the MSEE before you even get to your VNet gateway. So I think that is the portal completed. So let's just close that. So let's just move on to the next slide. So I think the next thing is to have a look to see if there's been any questions at this point. So let's have a quick look at the questions that have been asked. So I have a couple, one online, yes. So the first question is, can you support AWS outposts and local zones? Yes, well, Megaport is actually the only service-ready approved provider for AWS outposts and MCR. If you need more information, because this is a bit more complex, if you need more information on this, then I would suggest please reach out to your Megaport account teams in your region to help you develop that, because there's a little bit more complexity with that. And then the next question that's come in, is, do you support Express Route Metro? Okay, so these seem to be cloud-orientated questions. Yes, Megaport supports Express Route Metro into MCR. Now, I believe there is only a handful of sites in the world where Express Route Metro is available, and we do about 2/3 of those locations. But as that location list grows, we will support newer locations, and we take them on a case-by-case basis to see whether they commercially stack up for us. So thank you for those great questions. So just a quick recap. The Megaport Cloud allows your organization to have a multi-cloud strategy whilst requiring no upfront investment simply just from a minimum hourly term. It creates an instant point of presence in 90 locations in 16 countries, and only requires a small amount of configuration, as you saw with the demo. It provides private and secure connections with low latency, and it's great for short-term projects, both short and long-term. It gives you multi-cloud access, which will allow you things like wholesale cloud migrations, integrations, disaster recovery, and business continuity solutions. And it's easy to use. There's, as I said, only basic networking knowledge required, with easy to follow documentation on our website. So our website documents all of the configuration to all the cloud environments. And remember those lower egress fees, charges from CSPs compared to internet VPNs working between cloud environments. And it's fully and private and secure, with the capacity to go up to 10 gig. So it's not constrained like those internet VPNs as well. So I hope this has been useful, and please look out for other Megaport live sessions, as they are great sound bites to see what's evolving in the world of cloud connectivity. So until then, thank you and goodbye.